guys, welcome to the next episode of WIG RIGS. I'm Steph from Offmain and this is my 2022 Navara. So there's lots of things to consider, you know, touring Australia with a toddler to chucking up to 5 girls in the car to go off and compete for a girls' weekend. We absolutely have a ball in this car, so let's jump in and check it out. So the overall setup on this, we've got a 1600 tray. The reason for that is previously I had a longer 1750 tray and I just really didn't find that the car handled very well off-road. So we've shortened all of that to try and keep some of the weight over this rear axle, and it's probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made. On top of that, we've then got a 1300 canopy, and that means that we've got about 200 mil on the rear to put my spare tyre and my jerry can, which again just really helps with my weight distribution and the handling of the vehicle. So at the front, we've got a lockable fuel filler at the front, and then back here we've just got some extra storage for the under trays, which is where a lot of all the dirty gear, boots, recovery gear, things like that get chucked in there. On the top of the canopy, we've got obviously the 2 rails there that we use to mount the rooftop tent. And then we've also got a 150 watt solar panel, which is an Energive one that fits perfectly on top of the roof. Something that you might not be able to see is the top of this is actually powder coated white. And the reason for that is to help with the heat, just to make sure that we're keeping the inside of the canopy nice and cool. So like we've been using this for 6 months now. It's just gone through an Aussie summer, touring up the East Coast and into Cobar. And we can honestly vouch that this is probably the coolest canopy I've ever had. The solar panel on the top, the white roof, and then obviously sometimes the option of the rooftop tent just keeps it overall nice and cool and keeps all the batteries and the fridge nice and happy. Now for the exciting part, inside the passenger side of the canopy is basically where we do all of the cooking and beverages. We've got an 85 litre upright Bushman's fridge, Travel Buddy marine oven, and also in here is the pantry and table. So this is a slide out pantry here, and the table as well. So over here's my custom panel to mount all the switches to obviously operate all the electronics in the canopy. We've got a dual switching panel here that does all of the roof lights, rock lights, and the Travel Buddy. We've got USB ports here and an Anderson plug. So we've got the extra slots here, which are just super handy when we're charging devices and things like that. They often just get slid in here, and it just means that they're not moving around the canopy if we're charging while we're driving. And so behind this custom panel is my full 12 volt system. So up in the doors of the canopy, we've got 2 lighting options. On this side, I've got my LED strip light, which is just really handy, you know, when we just roll up into camp late. It's an easy one button to turn on. We've also got the option to swap it over to amber, which is nice if there's heaps of bugs. And then we're also running the Altic rock lights. So full RGB setup. We can just set the mood around camp. Again, we can swap these to amber if there's heaps of bugs and still be able to see when we're cooking and things like that. For the back of the tray, we've got a trundle drawer in here with a table, which we often use for either cooking or when we're navigating. We'll often get the maps out and pop them on here. Coupled with that, when we're racing off-road at night, we've got extra reverse lights that come with the tray, and also an extra one that I can switch on inside the cab. So reversing out bush, it just gives us a heap more light to be able to see. We've also got the jerry can holder that sits on the back. We've got the spare, that's a 33 sitting up there. And then inside here we have the chainsaw box, which is probably my favourite part of the build. So we've just got a clean, lockable space to be able to pop the chainsaw, fuel, bar oil, all sorts of things like that we can lock up in here. The last little piece that we have at the back of the tray is we've just got our tap. It's just a simple tap. I didn't want to pump or anything like that. Water just comes out gravity fed out the back here. So the driver side of the tray, this under tray box is where I have my compressor. So in here, obviously inflating tires, we've got everything just tucked away nice and neatly in here, super accessible, and that's actually wired up to the main battery. The reason for that is this canopy is a jack-off canopy, so sometimes when we go off-road and we're racing or we're doing something a little bit harder, we take the canopy off and it means that I don't lose my compressor, and it also leaves us the provision to put a front locker in this as well. Inside this canopy is mainly storage. We've got 2 drawers here that we can fill with recovery gear, cooking, extra things like our gas stove, things like that come in here. And then it's probably a good spot to go through the electrical system that we've got in the back as well. So in here we've got 2 100 amp slimline lithium batteries. They're both Energive. They're hooked up to the DC-DC. and then obviously up into the 150 watt solar panel that's up on the roof. So we've got two modes of charging when we're driving, which is probably the main source of the power when we live in Vic, but obviously when we're touring in summer as well, we've got a heap of power coming through the solar panels. On my last canopy setup, I felt like the canopy itself got really hot, so one of the main things that I wanted to do this time was do everything that I could to keep it nice and cool. So when we built this, I asked Wiggly if there was a way that we could integrate a filter or a vent into this one. So this canopy is vented, and I think it's probably one of the best things that we did. The filters themselves are interchangeable, so we just unbolt these. There's 4 bolts there. We take this off. We can pop in a new filter at any time. Something that does come standard with every canopy setup from Wiggly is the 45-degree bracing on these. So we have no worries about putting rooftop tents and everything like that up on here, because we know that it's all internally braced. The other thing that we did that was for this build was we actually powder coated obviously the inside of the canopy white, and one of the reasons for that was just to keep it light and bright, and we can always find what we're looking for. Usually in here, this is jam-packed. We've got swags, camp chairs, tables, kids' bikes, all sorts of things. So having it white in here just actually makes it so much easier to see everything, even without turning the lights on. The next thing that I opted to do was to custom vinyl wrap a lot of my panels. So if you speak to anyone that was involved in this build, there was 5 of us that all got to pick one of our favourite points in Australia. We got the contour lines custom drawn up onto some timber, and we wrapped the internals of the canopy. So you'll see there's 1 favourite point up here, 2 over here, and then there's 2 on the other side of the canopy as well. Take a look, see if you can pick where they are. So there you have it. That is a walk around video of the Nav's 1600 tray and canopy setup by Wiggly Engineering. We've had this on the car for 6 months now. It's toured so much of Australia. It's competed in 2 off-road events. We have put it through its absolute paces. It's been through CVs, we've reversed it into trees, we've seen some podium finishes on these events with the girls, and we cannot fault it. We have had such an absolute ball with the places that it's taken us. Oakley absolutely loves it. He gets all of his snacks out of the fridge when we're touring, and we just can't wait to see more of this country with this setup. If you want to see more of what this car gets up to, follow us on Instagram and YouTube, Offmain Off-Road. That's where you'll see the girls sending it through the bush, having an absolute ball. If you're a family touring with kids, then my personal page, Tour de Servo, is where you'll see myself and Oakley getting around doing heaps of family fun things. Jump online and check us out.